Today, we are going to show you how to avoid having this happen to your bench tops. So, I filmed this back in July. It's January now. So, I'm just going to warn you, the video is a little bit boring, but it's very educational. I did 5 of these. All 5 of them are absolutely useless. So, I'm going to explain to you what went wrong and how you can avoid doing it in this video. Okay, so I used my moisture meter and I was looking for around 16%. That's for my area. Your area could be very different. It could be as low as 10% or something like that. The way that I know what this area is good for is I took this and I kind of stuck it in the walls of my garage, which are not finished. You can see in the video that they're not finished. And they are over 15 years old. So they're as dry as they're going to get. So that's what I'm basing it on. I also bring up in the video about wood selection and trying to avoid getting the pith in there as much as possible. These ones are ones that I did last year at about the same time, and I was very much more selective with my wood. They were nice and dry, and if I take them off the nice warped boards, you're gonna see that they're still nice and flat. And also keep in mind that when I put the finish on them, I put the polyacrylic all the way around so that I can't get the moisture going in and out of the board. We'll address that in a later video when we deal with the finish. Okay, also the same thing with this one, which I did over a year ago out of 2x4s, which are very prone to wanting to warp, and this one's done pretty well. And if you see, I was very selective with the wood in this one too. I managed to get every other one pretty much far away from the pith. Just be aware, people, that if you use 2x4s, you're going to have some wowiness in them. You're just not going to get it perfect with 2x4s. And I explained in the video how I don't even use 2x6s anymore because they're pretty crappy too. Okay, so here we are today. I need to make 2 bench tops, not totally dissimilar to this one. So I'm going to tell you how I'm going to select lumber because I have been kind of misled in the past. Maybe not misled, but wasn't told enough information, and I built some that twisted. So I'm going to try to give you enough information to avoid that from happening. First of all, now I use 2x8s, and I cut them down because they're typically a lot better, and I'll laminate 2 of them together to make a 14-inch wide bench top, but this one got ordered specifically in the style that I'm going to do it in, which you're going to see in a different video. So I have to use 2x6s, or I got to cut down 2x8s and 2x10s and have a bunch of waste. So I have 8 2x6s that are actually pretty straight. And so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my moisture meter here and see just how much moisture is in them, because when they dry, that's when they want to twist. So that one's about 19%. We got to be under 20% for sure. 16 would be pretty ideal. That's not bad. So if we get any that are up in the 20s, we're going to disregard them for now until they dry out more. So that one's okay. That one's a little bit wetter than the other ones. I'm gonna set that one aside. It's not like I'm going to waste it. I'm just not going to use it. It's also pretty heavy. So we're not going to use that one either. We're going to put that one aside. This one's pretty good. So I'll put that in the maybe pile. Of course, we got to look at it too and make sure it's. This one's probably going to be a winner because it looks pretty good on this side. This one's 17%. All right, I have been informed. I put that in the don't use pile. So there we go. I'm glad somebody's paying attention. Okay, so this one's 16.8, 17.8. So that one's a potential customer too. Okay, we're going to set that one aside because that one's at 20. $16.5, 16.3. Okay, so all of these 5 are good potential boards to use. So first thing, make sure there's nothing that's going to disqualify the board, like a big giant crack in them. Okay, that side can go down, so that's okay. That side can go down, so that one's okay. And how's this one look on the other side? Okay, this one I'm going to put out of the way because it's got a big nasty spot right there and the big nasty spot on the other side. So it's not that the board's going to be wasted, it's just no good for this application because of how long the board has to be, 44 inches. Okay, so we've narrowed it down to 4. So now what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the end grains. And neither one of them has the, well, this one has the pith in it. So that's the center of the tree. There's the center of the tree. So this one is good. This one is good. And probably just pick the nicest one of one of these two to finish it off. Because if you can avoid the pith, the better, because it's the part that wants to twist the most. So I'm going to say I'm going to use that one. So I'm going to put this one aside. And that's how we get our 3 boards. Okay, so I'm going to cut them. Okay, for this we're going to need 2 bench tops. Each of them requires 3 pieces of 2x6, and they're 44 inches wide. So I'm going to cut them at 46, and then after they're laminated and dried, then I'm going to cut them down to size. That way I got a little extra leeway to play with. I'm using this saw right now in the middle of the floor because my other one's right beside where the camera is, and I got a bunch of stuff over there because of the reno that we're doing, so it was just easier this way. Okay, I got a crack on this end, so I'm going to flip it. Okay, let's see how straight everything is here. Okay, that one's good. And come on, baby, last one. Okay, so by doing a careful wood selection here, I do not have to use the planer. All right, so I'm going to check them at the 4-foot level now. Nice straight edge. Let's see how much daylight we can get through the thing. That one's pretty straight. That one's also very straight. They're not perfect. Be selective as to how I run these through the saw. I'm trying to find one here to give you a good example of how to do this. They're all coming off pretty straight. Okay, this one's a good example. So you're going to push it through the saw with the level, because the level's nice and straight. And you want the level on the side with the gap in the middle. So the bone's going this way. So it's touching that top and it's touching that bottom. That way we know it's not going to rock as it's going through. So we're just going to take maybe a half a blade width on these ones because they're also straight off, just to create a perfectly straight edge. And then we'll flip them over and then we'll have 2 perfectly straight sides before we laminate. So we get a really nice fit that way. Start them on this cart here. When I get them through, I'm going to put them on that cart there so I don't confuse myself. Blade height's good. Okay, so that's set to take off about a blade width. I can take off about a 1/4 of an inch off each board, so I didn't give myself a lot of room to play with. Okay, I definitely should have been wearing a dust mask there, and I did try to, but I can't find it. So we only have 2 center boards to worry about. Since these are all pretty straight, we don't need to worry about doing both sides of each one. So we're going to pick our 2 center boards, and then we're going to do it on the other side. The way we're going to pick the center board is we're going to find which sides look okay for the outside and which sides. So for example, this one looks pretty good. It doesn't have any big nasty knots in it or anything, so we'll leave that as an outside board. That one's got a big chunk out of it, so we might use this one for a center board. But then again, that side's not bad. That one's okay. That one's okay. These are all pretty good boards, actually. Definitely use that one as a center board, and we use this one as a center board. These are about the two worst ones. So we started at 5.5. Those ones would be probably 5 3/8, and we're going to knock these ones down to 5 1/4. So symmetrically speaking, it'll still be fine because you have a slightly skinnier one on the inside, and then the two on the outside will be the same. Now I can put it through with the push stick because I don't have to fight with the level. Okay, I'm going to mark it with a big C so I know it's the center one. Okay, on to the next step. I have to put those roundovers back on that it would have come with from the factory, on the top anyway. Okay, done with the level. So you can clearly see that the router is unplugged while I'm trying to figure out the height. Trial run here. It's a little bit much. Try it there and see where we end up. Okay, now it's time to decide who's going to be the top and who's going to be the bottom. Top. Let's make that one a top. Big crack there. Top. Big chunk out of that one. Top. Big cracks on that one. That'll be the top. That'll be the top. So, TG. Okay, in this instance, left to right. That's what happens when you buy a cheap router. So it slid down on me and made the roundover much deeper than it should have been. Okay, I just made a really small round over there, and I'm gonna finish them with the sander because this router is just not good enough for this job. Okay, so here I'm going to do a quick once over. I'm gonna make the roundovers, and I'm gonna give a quick once over to the parts that are getting laminated together. The other parts will be sanded before finishing. Okay, I'll get all the sawdust off there and ready to start laminating. Okay, so there you have it. That's video number 1. Video number 2 is going to come out shortly, and it's going to be how the 4 different ways to laminate these together. And these ones I did use pocket holes, but there are other ways of doing it, which I'm going to show you. And then the next video, this is going to be a combination. I don't know which ones are going to come out in which order, but we're going to do a finishing video, and then we're going to do a mounting the tabletop. I'm guessing that'll be the last one onto the bench. 4 different methods of doing that as well to make sure it doesn't split and twist, hopefully. Okay, stay tuned for that. And once again, I'm sorry that previous Greg there was so boring.